Welcome to the enLIGHTenUP podcast. I'm Lisa Watson and will be joined by my co-hosts Nicole Frolick and Brian Koenigberg. The enLIGHTenUP podcast is a weekly show that provides an unconventional and refreshing spin on spirituality, where three friends and weekly guests share informative, fun, and usually off-the-wall conversations. Unlike others, we provide fringe and skeptical viewpoints on all topics, because our experience has taught us that the echo chamber is a boring place from which to learn. So regardless of where you are in your spiritual journey, we can promise you're going to find a place to fit in here. So we invite you to grab a drink and listen in on our casual, entertaining, and hopefully enlightening conversation. And enLIGHTenUP is a self-funded podcast, so if you would like to help us to continue to be able to produce, enhance, and expand the show for our audience, then please send your support using the link in the show notes, or go to our website, enlightenup.us, and check out our merchandise shop, where you can purchase merchandise that will allow you to express some spiritual humor. You may also show your support by leaving us a review on iTunes and following us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Thank you all so much for listening and supporting us, and now let's jump right into the episode.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the enLIGHTenUP podcast. I am Nicole Frolick and I am joined by my fabulous co-hosts, Lisa and Brian. And today we have a returning guest who we're very excited to have on the show, Christian Escobedo, the spiritual scientist. He is a quantum healer, expert in energy communication, and a quantum code creator. We last met Christian in Las Vegas last year. And Christian, it was so nice to meet you in person. Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor.
Yeah. So what's life been like for you in the last year?
It's been very interesting. We actually dove into a lot of projects and we put out a lot of different products, I guess you would say, building a community. And we went into understanding the subconscious mind as deep as we could. And really I would say that's where my expertise is in this moment right now. And what could be done when understanding really what the subconscious mind is and how it works and how to work with it on a scientific level opens up a whole new paradigm, a whole new world of understanding when it comes to life in general. And
yeah, I think that when you have that aspect of being able to take something scientific and apply it to something that's very abstract and not as tangible to people's minds, that it creates that anchor point
right.
for people to really grasp.
Right. And there's a lot of really great teachers and really great information that is out already and has been researched and scientifically proven, I guess you would say. But it's still a new understanding and a world of discoveries. And we've been playing with different, as a scientist would, we've been experimenting with different modalities, different understandings, different ways of looking at the subconscious mind. And what we found was fascinating. And it's really the thing that controls a lot of our physical reality, but underneath the hood, underneath the surface.
Mm-hmm. Well, you've put out at New Year's, you put out a free training called the Subconscious Mind Deep Dive, Understanding the Power of the Subconscious Mind on Facebook. And so to all of our listeners, I highly suggest you go over to Christian's Facebook page and scroll down his page to the beginning of January to find that video because it's really interesting and quite informative. Christian, the subconscious we've talked about it a lot on our podcast. Lisa and I are really into understanding the subconscious.
Awesome.
And it does sabotage all of your conscious work if you don't have any conscious awareness of your subconscious.
Yeah, absolutely. And the good news is there's a way to figure out what we're actually, the codes that are running in the subconscious. So if you've had struggles in love, if you had struggles in finances or wealth related struggles, if you had struggles in health, these are like the most common areas that people like to improve. chances are it's not your fault. That's the good news. Chances are it's just a code that's running within the subconscious that plays out over and over again. And what we get into with that particular program is how to test for these belief systems on a scientific level, understanding what is there, writing them down. And then we even found a way where we can reprogram these belief systems through energy healing. And then you retest, and that you retest for yourself, and that has now shifted into a different belief system. And what will happen is now a supported lifestyle that you want will begin to show up in your reality. So this is actually what we do on a large scale. We work in groups. We have a group program that we've been doing for about 8 months now, 7 or 8 months, and we focus on all kinds of really interesting areas. And then we put out a program specifically for entrepreneurs, which is more wealth, success, money, finances, all the things that come with entrepreneurship that help any entrepreneur either, get out of the spot that they're in and scale their business, or if somebody wanted to have an entrepreneur lifestyle, they can now apply the energy first and then use external tools like the internet and things that are available really easily to align with those belief systems and create a lifestyle of freedom and abundance.
You said that you're able to test the belief systems prior to the energy work and then after. Do you have a specific subconscious belief that you were able to reprogram that you had running in your life that you know now no longer is running?
Yeah, absolutely. It actually runs with my entrepreneur story. And that's why I kind of developed my flagship program around entrepreneurship, because it's really my passion. But I was struggling for about like 5 years as an entrepreneur. And it actually led me down the rabbit hole of understanding quantum physics and understanding energy work and energy healing. And when I was kind of skeptical at first. And when I started understanding it and then testing it for myself, I was like, oh my God, I have these blocks. No wonder I'm not successful as an entrepreneur. No wonder I'm having these things consistently show up in my life, like people stealing my ideas and working hard for other people and not, and so those
What were
things,
some of the beliefs then? What did you isolate
there
there?
was a number of them. On the program that I put out, and you can go to the one that you're talking about on Facebook. You can actually access it very easily. Just type in quantumstart.me, and that will take you to a page where you can get the program for free. And um, at the end of that program, uh, I have you test for, I think it's about 33 different belief systems that are deeply rooted within entrepreneurship that could prevent entrepreneurs from scaling up. And those are a lot of the ones that I had that were preventing me from being the entrepreneur that I wanted to be. And I don't remember them off the top of my head, but I could probably pull them up right now if you want. But it
Are
would be
these
like,
general things like worthiness and deserving and
exactly.
Mhm.
I deserve to be wealthy. It's easy for me to be wealthy. I know how to create wealth. Uh, let's see. There's quite
Do
a
you
few
use
of them.
affirmations as part of your process?
So that's a great question. Here's the problem with affirmations. You're working from the conscious level, so you can go and state those affirmations, but if they don't align with your subconscious belief systems, the subconscious will override those affirmations. So what we've done with our program is kind of infuse the idea of working with the subconscious, and then we start to use the conscious belief tools like affirmations and vision boards. There's one that we do that's called movement feedback, which will uh, understand the basic principle is the way that you do anything is the way that you do everything. So if you're brushing your teeth a certain way, if you wake up in the morning and you are waking up, it's hard to get out of bed and all that stuff. Well, it's going to be hard to go to work, and it's going to be hard to brush your teeth even, because those are subconscious belief patterns that are underneath the surface. So those things show up throughout our life all the time. Now, it's interesting because when I first took this test, it was, the way that they were explaining this process to me. And it was like the way that you're reading this information is even the way that you go about your business. And at first I looked at it, I was like, I kind of don't want to read this. And then I started seeing that. I'm like, okay, those are subconscious beliefs that I need to understand and I need to change. And it's really not necessarily my fault. Consciously, I was banging my head up against the wall trying to figure out how to be an entrepreneur. But the subconscious code, in other words, the software inside of the system, did not align with the lifestyle that I wanted to create.
Let me ask you this. Mm-hmm. Because I totally get what you're talking about with the affirmations and saying I'm in the conscious state versus the subconscious state. And, one of the things that I've done with my affirmations is I've recorded myself saying them and then put them to very relaxing music that totally transports me. And then I'll just listen to them like before I'm going to bed. So I'm kind of going into like a deeper state, because I think about, when we watch TV and we go into that trance state, a lot of that stuff is getting programmed into our minds. So
right.
Is that a way of kind of hacking hacking that kind of conscious affirmation and taking it more into a subconscious level? Or if you absolutely cannot isolate any of your subconscious beliefs, are you still working, like basically banging your head against a wall?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's a way to hack, or there's a way to understand conscious work better. And you'll actually understand why this is a problem when we kind of go through this. So basically what happens is, if you say, I'm going to be a millionaire, and that's your affirmation, I'm going to be a millionaire, I'm going to be a millionaire, I am going to be whatever it may be, or I'm going to be wealthy. But then there's a little voice in the back of your mind that says, yeah, right, that's not possible. That's really where the affirmation begins to crumble, right? So the way that we've used to understand this concept a little bit better is we actually we do the subconscious work, and then after that we do the affirmation work, where it's why am I so wealthy? Why is the money coming from everywhere? Why do I get clients that book me constantly? And that does not trigger the red flag in the mind. It actually asks a question. And when you ask the question, the mind figures out a solution. It goes to a solution. It doesn't go to the negative resistance, which within the law of attraction will build more of what you don't want. So this is kind of how we teach conscious work in our program. Is we actually use different frameworks to make it easier on the mind to grasp that reality, right? And then the subconscious work is really 90% of the work that is going to allow it to show up. So the subconscious, let's get into like a little of the mechanics with the subconscious. The subconscious is basically running anywhere between it could be gauged, but I like to say low 90%, high 99, 98% of our reality. This is basically the thing that runs all of our autonomous functions, like breathing, blinking, etc. But also what resides in the subconscious is belief systems. Belief systems are kind of like the glue to reality, to physical reality. What even overrides belief systems is identities. That's a bundle of belief systems. So you have a number of different levels to your, I guess, subconscious mind. You have the bundle of belief system, which is the identities or the archetypes. You have the single belief systems, which could prevent you from also having things in the conscious reality. And there's two different forms of handling those two different levels, I guess you would say. One would be a sniper approach. So you test for belief systems using a sniper approach. So single belief systems. And then if we find a belief system that we can't shift into aligned belief systems, then basically we have to go into a digging mechanism. So we dig, there's a deeper belief system that will override that belief system. And that goes more into like the archetype and the identity, the bundle of belief systems. So there's a number of ways of working with the subconscious. What we do to test these belief systems, you can actually try it right now if you'd like. We can actually go through. And the cool thing about this work is I can do it on the podcast, and listeners on the podcast can bookmark the spot in the podcast and actually participate in this. And it would work remotely through the podcast too, because we're working in the fifth dimension, which is energy. So
let's do it.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. It's really fascinating. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pull up some of those belief systems that I have, and we can go and we can run through maybe like 5 or 10, test them, see if you have them. If you have them, that's good. Then you don't do anything. If we have a block or a not supporting belief system, I'll go in. It'll take me about 10 seconds. I'll do the energy work. We'll come back. We'll test again, and you'll watch for yourself and test that belief system again, and watch that belief system shift within about 20 seconds. It's pretty fascinating.
Oh yeah, let's do it. I'm on board.
Cool. Let me pull up a couple just so I have a visual reference. So this is really interesting. There's when I work with clients privately, what I do is there's two kind of I guess you would say modalities. One is called the source truth reading, which is really done in the kind of the higher dimensions, higher than energy. And it's getting information. It's similar to channeling. It's getting information from source. And then what I do is I get the information from source, and I come back down and I do subconscious reprogramming based on that information. So it's a really rapid way of expanding. But for this particular demonstration, we'll focus on the subconscious work, and that would be an experience in itself. So I do have the blocks pulled up. These are actually belief systems. Blocks would be a negative. So if I say, go ahead and test, I vow to stay stuck financially, and you have that, that's a block that we want to remove. So you don't want that vow. So let me kind of backtrack a little bit. Let's go over how these belief systems get into the subconscious and a little background information about what the subconscious is and how it works. So let's start with what the subconscious is. The subconscious is your body's intelligence, simply put. It's every single cell inside of your body. Those cells hold memory. Those memories control your body and control your reality. So if you have a belief system that says it is not safe, or if I say, test this belief system, it is safe to make money, and there's a belief system in there that says no, and you test no for that, well, guess what? It's going to be pretty hard to make money at a high level. It's going to be a struggle consistently. So that's why it's important to understand the subconscious, what it's doing, how it's running, and what is actually running within your subconscious code. So how do these belief systems get in the subconscious? Well, there's a number of ways. The most common way would be genetics. So it's hereditary, passed down from families, and these belief systems that you have they may be belief systems that you don't even believe in consciously, but they came from a relative or a mom or a father, and they could be affecting you in your reality right now. The second way is through childhood experiences. So a lot of these belief systems, the subconscious is really developing within the first 7 years. And some of these belief systems are installed or developed within your childhood. So it's important, like we change our phones pretty much every year, but our belief systems stay the same throughout our life. And we wonder why things are not going as planned, because our conscious mind is saying, I want this, or I want to live this way, or I desire this thing. And that evolves pretty rapidly. But our subconscious mind is still running on those belief systems like a software would. So it's important that we upgrade our software to the beliefs that we want, and that so they align with our conscious desires.
So the subconscious is basically our software of our system.
Exactly.
Okay.
And
So we remove all the apps on our phone
right.
and we install all new updated apps.
Mm-hmm. You can definitely relate it to technology and software that is running on your computer. The problem that we face is we try to change the code from the outside. So think about looking at your computer and just imagine like you're trying to change a word that is misspelled, and you take out a pen and you start writing on the monitor. It's not going to work, right? But if you go from the inside and change the code from the software and use the keyboard to change that word, but that's internal, now you have a whole new way of working with this particular thing. It works almost identical to that.
So the beliefs are just basically coded belief systems.
Pretty much, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And the energy work that we do is actually, it's code.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. And
so this is a tough word for Brian. This is something he, like, when we talk about codes, we were just actually talking about this on the weekend, and it's something that kind of doesn't really resonate with Brian, or he doesn't seem to grasp onto it. Brian, did you want to share like your point of view?
Well, it's not that it doesn't resonate with me. It's how you guys, originally in the podcast described it, saying we were in a computer program.
Mm-hmm.
That's what doesn't resonate with me. Saying, using an allegory, saying it's like a computer code and you have to work on it, like a computer code. I can understand that, but telling me, no, you literally are in a computer program.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I had a hard time with. Even if it's true,
Right.
it's that is harder to understand than just the allegory. And you're just trying to talk with me in a way that I can understand how I need to rewrite myself.
It's not about codes. It's about just this idea of being in an actual computer program.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
being in
I
the
gotcha.
matrix.
Yeah,
is what's weird.
Christian, let me ask you this. So I've been doing a lot of, digging for these subconscious programs, and, having an extreme heightened awareness of my behaviors and my thoughts and feelings and emotions and all those things, and looking for the root of these programs so that I can, change them.
Right.
As well as doing affirmations and asking the why statements as well. And what I've discovered for me as a hack, and I'm just curious if what you think about this, is that everything seems to be trapped, on an energetic level. So when those subconscious programs, whether, that you may have gained from your mother, your father, your, primary caregivers when you were the ages of 1 to 7, that embedded these programs in you of lack, or, whatever it may be, unworthiness, or that I have found that going as close as I can back to those points, recognizing the behaviors and the people around me, when I was small, and seeing, oh, I definitely picked up these programs from those people. I no longer choose to hold on to them, but I find that when I allow some sort of energy to move through me, whether it be crying or screaming or just really, expressing my frustration with that and my desire to leave that behind, that's where I've felt a shift in myself. where
Totally.
I've like actually released that energy, if that makes sense.
Totally. Yeah, I think so. I don't think that this is the only way to clear blocks, subconscious blocks. I think that there's a number of ways. But what I do believe to be true is it takes energy to move energy. So, in other words, if I'm trying to do it from a thought, like if I try to move the cup of water that's sitting in front of me with a thought, it's not going to happen or very unlikely to happen. But if I take my hand and I grab the cup and I move the cup, then it happens. So I'm using energy to move energy. In other words, I'm not using a lower form of, or I don't even know what you would classify energy or thoughts as. Obviously, there is some form of energy there, right? But you have to take the equal amount of energy, I guess you would say, and move something. So it's a tricky thing, and like I said, we're still exploring this new found territory, or not new found, but we're still understanding this. I think that there's a lot of room to understand this, and I don't think that there's a one size fits all for this. But what I do know is that you have to really, like, if you're having problems in an area that you really desire consciously, the best tool that you can use is a subconscious tool to test for those and reprogram those on a scientific level. And I think that this is where this kind of separates itself from everything else, is this is a very scientific approach. So if I say, go ahead and test, it is safe to make money, and you don't have that, I can go in there, reprogram that, and you can test again, and it's removed. And that is a sure thing. It is. We do it day in, day out with our clients and with our groups. It's a sure thing.
What's the feedback I'm looking for? You know, when so you're
You'll
saying this and I'm expecting something to happen to know if it resonates with me or not. That's what I'm not clear on.
well, yeah, absolutely. And I'll break down how we test and how we test for sure. So basically, we use something called muscle testing, which is also known as applied kinesiology, and a lot of like chiropractors use it. But basically, what you're doing is you're testing the strength of your muscles response based off of statements, not necessarily questions. That's the big misconception with this particular method of testing, is it must be statements. Also, with muscle testing, is we are testing belief systems, which is another big misconception. It's not that we're testing universal truths. So this is the difference between a source truth reading and a muscle testing situation, I guess you would say. What's fascinating is that belief systems and energy around those belief systems can potentially cause even diseases in the body, all kinds of weird things like that. One of the things that we found is people that felt like they weren't loved in certain ways would often manifest diseases in the body because they would go to the doctor and that doctor would care for them. So it was a subconscious belief system that's saying, I'm not loved, or I don't deserve to be loved. And once you clear that out, the reality on the outside changes. So this is how powerful the subconscious is. It can affect you on many, many different levels, including health levels, including wealth levels, relationship problems, all kinds of things. So what I want to give,
Subconscious is
right?
very sneaky.
Yeah, totally. But it's also very necessary, and it controls. If it wasn't for the subconscious, I wouldn't want to think about breathing all the time. That's for sure, or blinking and stuff like that. So it's good to just understand and have a tool that's in your toolbox that you can use to understand the way the subconscious works. And that's what I want to go over next, is how do we actually test for belief systems? And I think this will answer your question, Brian. So with muscle testing, we are going to test basically our energetic field. What happens with a positive statement is your energetic field around you will strengthen because your cells in your body will strengthen and will produce a positive result. So if I say it is safe to make money, and you believe that is true, you're going to let off a positive statement or a positive charge, and you can test for that with your muscles. The way that I typically do this with clients and with our group is we do what's called a standing test. There's a number of different ways that you can test, and there's also troubleshooting methods and stuff like that, because some people don't test accurately at first. But the easiest way to do it would be to stand, and you want to face north, and you just stand in kind of a loose position to where you can easily sway forward or backwards. And your feet are going to be about shoulder width apart, your toes pointed forward. And then you're just going to calibrate by saying yes out loud, making the statement yes. And you should notice that your body slightly moves forward. It's going to move forward anywhere between 16 and 24%. Usually the charge is right around there. And then the same thing would go for the opposite or the negative. You say no, your body should move backwards slightly. And that would tell us that you are calibrated and also ready to move forward with other belief systems to test. It's really simple. So let's get into some troubleshooting if you're having problems with that, which is pretty uncommon, but some people do have problems. The first thing is to hydrate. Your body is an electromagnetic machine. So if it's dehydrated, it's going to have problems moving that energy correctly. The second thing would be minerals. If you're mineral deficient, it's going to have problems moving that energy as well. So those are the two troubleshooting. One thing that happens, which is very, very rare, I see it in probably about 1 out of 1,000 test, is you actually test backwards, and there's a way to reverse the charge. I probably won't get into that here, but if you do have that,
that's just in the settings menu where you go and you flip the
totally.
XY axis. Yeah, I want to look down when I push up. Yeah,
right. But if you do have that problem, you're listening to the podcast, reach out to one of us, and we can go through the steps of what's necessary to do that. But it's probably unlikely that anybody would have that. So if you're standing up, you're calibrated, you're testing correctly, you say yes, you move forward, you say no, you move backwards, then you can start testing belief systems. And you just run through, and I have a list of belief systems that we can test here. I don't know if you want to, we'll go over like maybe 5 or 7 of them, and then hopefully get one that you don't have and that you need to clear it or download the right information. Then we'll go and do that process. Actually, we'll go until we have one of we want to have one of those for sure.
Yeah, jump into it. Lisa and Nicole are both standing.
Perfect. So go ahead and test. You're just going to make the statement out loud. So there's 2 things that need to happen. You say the statement. If you move, I'll say if you move forward, that indicates good, and we don't need to do anything. If you move backwards, then that's a block, and I need to reprogram that. I'll also need your permission to work in the space, the energy space. So it's important that I'll say, with your permission, you just say, yes, you have my permission, or yes out loud. And then that would allow me to work in the energy space. And then we'll work in the energy, and then we'll come back, and basically you'll test again, and you'll watch as that is now transformed.
You got my permission.
All right. Actually, we'll do it through you'll hear me say through every belief system. So go ahead and test. It is safe to make money.
It is safe.
It is safe to make money.
And if you got a no, go ahead and grant me your permission. Did you get a no?
I got yes.
Yes.
I got yes.
Okay. Well, we'll do. Actually, what I'll do is I'll run through these, because there's going to be people listening to this podcast that can go through this as well. So if you got a yes, that's great. If you got a no, just grant me your permission. Even if you're listening to this podcast, you can participate in this remotely as well. And I'll go ahead and download that supporting belief system for you right now. Okay. And then you would go ahead and retest now. So go ahead and retest. It is safe to make money. And you should be getting a yes now. Moving on to number 2, go ahead and test. It is easy to make money.
It is easy to make money.
Easy to make money.
And if you got a no, go ahead and grant me your permission, please, and I'll go ahead and download that information for you right now. Okay. Now go ahead and retest. It is easy to make money. And you should be getting a yes now. Let's go ahead and move on to, this is an interesting one. Go ahead and test. I can have money and love at the same time.
I can have money and love at the same time.
And if you got a no, go ahead and grant me your permission, please. And I'll go ahead and download that for you right now.
Ooh, that was a no.
Okay. Now go ahead and retest. I can have money and love at the same time. And you should be getting a yes now.
At the same time.
Did you feel a shift?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Go ahead and moving on. Go ahead and test. If I have money, I will lose it.
If I have money, I will lose it.
And if you got a no, go ahead and grant me your permission, please. And I'll go ahead and download that information for you right now. Okay, now go ahead and retest. If I have money, I will lose it. And you should be getting a no now. All right.
I was supposed to get a no?
Yep. Did you not get a no?
Oh, I got a no the first time, and I gave you my permission, and then I got a yes.
Oh wow, that's weird.
I thought
So
we
let's
were
go ahead
always
and
supposed to get yeses.
let's go ahead and reverse that then. Okay, so go ahead and grant me your permission one more time. This happens every now and then. It's very interesting that it happened on the show.
I thought the point of this was to always get a yes.
No.
Think about the question, Brian.
Yes, depending on the question. So let's go ahead and do this again, Brian.
Well, if I think about the question, that's me using my consciousness. I thought this was subconscious. That's not me thinking about the question.
But I'm doing the subconscious work for you.
All right.
So go ahead and grant me your permission. And I'm going to go ahead and clear that for you now. So just grant me your permission. I'll go ahead and clear that for you.
Done.
Okay. Now go ahead and retest. If I have money, I will lose it. And you should get a no now.
If I have money, I will lose it.
Okay.
Good. And that's really how simple it is. It's quite interesting. We'll go ahead and do a couple more. Let's go ahead and test. Expenses come up when I have extra money. This is a belief system that we don't want. So we're looking for, if you have it, we're looking to clear it. So expenses come up when I have extra money.
Expenses go up.
If you got a yes on that, go ahead and grant me your permission, please, and I'll go ahead and clear that for you right now.
I'm still like slightly going yes.
So yeah, sometimes you need to do some deeper digging, and sometimes it also takes a sleep cycle to process, especially working with new clients, working with new people. Sometimes it will take a little bit longer. But I think in this case, it takes some deeper digging. So what that does, typically what happens is we go for a deeper belief system. We find that belief system, we clear it out. And then the belief system that was attached to that, in this case, it was its expenses come up when I have extra money. That belief system would also clear when you find the deeper one. So it kind of works like an onion.
So what you're saying is that belief system that Brian has is kind of like a limb off the tree, the actual tree of beliefs.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right. And if you get to the core, the root belief system, then that one would clear as well. And there are, in our program, we go over some root belief systems around money, stuff like that. but this one is a little bit different. Go ahead and test this one. Money comes easily. And if you got a no, go ahead and grant me your permission, please, and I'll go ahead and download that supporting belief system for you right now. Okay, now go ahead and retest. Money comes easily, and you should be getting a yes now. All right, let's move on to, I think this could be another one that's underneath the surface. Underneath that one, the expenses come up. Go ahead and test. Money comes quickly. And if you got a no, go ahead and grant me your permission, please, and I'll go ahead and download that for you right now. Okay, now go ahead and retest. Money comes quickly, and you should be getting a yes now. Brian, did you happen to have those as blocks?
No.
Yes.
In other words, did you get a no on those? Okay.
I got a yes. You got a no?
I got a no at first,
I
but
got a
then I
no.
got a yes.
No the first time, and yes the second time?
Yeah.
Great.
For the two girls.
Great. Yeah, so those are now supporting belief systems that are code that's running in the subconscious that should help making money quickly and easily a lot better.
Awesome.
So with this particular one, Brian, expenses come up. Go ahead and test that one more time if you can. Expenses come up when I have extra money.
Neutral.
Huh.
Maybe slightly forward.
Okay. Yeah, just go ahead and test that again tomorrow and see, and let me know. I'd be interested to see.
Should be a no.
There.
Okay. It's interesting. It was never, even when it was this yes, it was like more neutral, but this really slight leaning forward. And that time it was even less, but it was definitely more moving north.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, yeah, that's basically how it works. That's
Very cool.
That's the sniper style of working with belief systems, working with individual belief systems. We also have ways to work with groups of belief systems, which is a little more. It's a different style of working with the subconscious, but now the listeners can have a tool to test for belief systems and to. I know for me, this tool alone, having this tool in my toolbox was life-changing because now I can say, oh my God, it's not me. Like, it doesn't matter what the next, course I get online or the next mentor I get, because there's a subconscious belief system that's going to override that. I need to figure out how to change that subconscious belief. And then I can start working with the energy or start working with the external tools to start manifesting the life that I desired consciously. So it just completely changed everything for me in my life.
Have you heard of the book Affirmations by Noah St. John?
No, but I'll look it up.
It's not Affir, but it's with an O, Affor. But it's what you spoke about as far as
I got it.
Making why statements.
Right.
And just what you had talked about, that how your subconscious mind will search for the solution.
Yeah, totally. Whoa, that's cool. I got to check that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving pieces. I believe that the underlying principle and the underlying teaching is you have to be something before you can experience it. So I think what is understood today is that you have to experience something before you can be it. So in other words,
And that's kind of, it's like that believe it and you'll see it
right.
kind of
Right, exactly.
mentality.
Exactly. And it's be, do, have, but most people are thinking from the have, do, be position. So I think when we reverse the belief system, when we understand that we need to be something, to do something, to have something, it's an energetic match. So the frequency is aligned, that reality becomes a manifestation in this physical reality, and we're able to have those things. But it's kind of hard to say, how do you be something without, having it first, so to speak. And you just got to.
Well, okay, I'm curious because you talked about this in the idea that the subconscious is in the cells. Like our cells hold all of our memories,
Yeah.
right? And so, how do you reprogram the cells so that they don't hold on to those memories and and you create new ones? So, is it like that taking action so that, because from what I understand is that, the quantum field, everything that we do in it, it's never complete until we take an action.
Right.
And so, does the action actually help anchor in the belief into the cell? How does it work in your
Yeah.
mind? Like,
So,
how do you
so
feel?
this is a great question, because we say that the subconscious is controlling anywhere between, let's say, 90 to 98% of our reality. There's still anywhere between 10 and 2 or 1% that we need to account for. And this is that accounting. So we do the subconscious work in our programs with Quantum Entrepreneur, with Amber has a program called Quantum Body, which is health related. My program is called, or our program, but it's my passion, my masterpiece, I guess you would say. Quantum Entrepreneur, we do the belief work first, and then we use the external tools and take action. And then we use affirmations and be to have understanding to bring that reality in a lot faster. And then we relinquish control. We give it up to the universe. We surrender at a certain extent, which allows the energy. If your cup is full, you don't have room for that new energy to come in. So the surrendering basically says, here, universe, my cup is empty. Fill it up with the energy that I just took action to program, just took action to do my affirmations and to do the external work. And now I'm surrendering all to bring in that nice, good, juicy energy of the lifestyle that I want, that I desire.
Like clearing out your hard drive.
Yeah, pretty much.
And from what I understand, doing physical activity while you're saying your affirmations is really important as well. So like some type of resistance.
Mm-hmm.
Brian and I use hand weights, and we'll lift weights, or even like jumping around, or just getting a lot of energy moving through you, and just so that you're absorbing it on a cellular level. Like as you're tearing down your muscle and saying these positive affirmations, it's building back up while you're thinking these thoughts. So,
right.
The more energy you can move while thinking these things and doing these things, the faster you're
Absolutely.
going to reprogram
You
yourself.
nailed it. Absolutely. Absolutely. So it's good to do, these affirmations with some kind of movement, with some kind of that's really the embodiment stage of this. So you're really embodying the thing that you want to create in your life. And when you embody it, you're in
And
the
saying it
beat.
with passion.
Right. Yep.
And then sharing it with others, I think, is really important too. Like, you're not just saying it by yourself and it's a secret, you're keeping it to yourself, but making statements like to others out loud that, I am the creator of my own reality. My vision is getting better every day. Or, someone says you forgot something. You're like, well, I have a fantastic memory and it's getting better every day.
Absolutely.
And just living those affirmations and stating them as truth.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Absolutely. It's important. It's the embodiment phase, and that's when it starts to manifest into physical reality. And the more that you create that awareness for yourself, the more that you see it, the more that it becomes a pattern, the more that it ingrains into your physical reality and existence. So it's fascinating. What's interesting that I didn't really touch on, a couple things, just kind of cliff notes, I guess you would say. with the subconscious. So the subconscious, the key to working with the subconscious is a theta brainwave. And when I'm doing the energy work, I'm actually triggering a theta brainwave for myself, which in return, because we are all connected, it will also trigger that within you. So we're working in a theta state. I'm sure you've heard the term before, theta healing. This is actually a very similar technology as theta healing. And this technology can be used for multiple different outputs. So it can be used to do remote viewing. It can be used to do theta healing or instantaneous healings, which is miraculous. It can be used to do rapid manifesting. It can be used to do future readings. It could be used to do body scans and medical intuitive readings. There's a number of different outputs because we're working with the brainwave that is considered like the interface of the subconscious.
So when you're working with theta, that's the state where you're really relaxed. Not delta is what, just before dream state?
Delta's when you're in a deep REM.
But the thing is, the brain is constantly in all of these states at once, but you're triggering more of that state within this command sequence. So you're with this energy work. It's important when I do rapid manifesting with our clients, and when we do manifesting with our group, we actually go into a deep theta. So it's not necessarily important to do it with belief system work, but to do it with manifesting, it needs more theta power behind it. So we actually do a little bit of a guided meditation, so to speak, where there's visuals and but there's also it's more of a visual process, in other words, but it's triggering more of a theta state than it would within just a belief system clearing or download.
So if you're wanting people, like for anyone listening to the show, if they're wanting to do this, what are a couple of things that they can do that you would suggest to get into theta?
Binaural beats, that's one of them for sure. We use those with some of our manifesting work as well. It's theta happens right before you go to sleep typically, but if we're working together, it's built into our protocol. So it's actually in the energy work that we do. So typically the client or the recipient or the depending on if you're doing a healing or not, the receiver of the healing doesn't need to worry about that. It's built into our protocol. So it's typically not even necessary to really think about it. And then for like guided manifesting and stuff like that, for manifesting, rapid manifesting, it's also built into the protocol, but we do a little bit deeper theta work. So we do some kind of guided meditation or something like that before.
And how often do you find, just because a lot of people are thinking in linear thoughts and in linear ways, to start seeing effects of the subconscious being reprogrammed and removing some of these old beliefs and replacing them with more supportive ones. How much time a day do you find people need to spend in order to take the 5% odds of the subconscious, working to your favor to bring it up to higher, like
right
above 50?
So it really depends on the situation and the person. We've seen rapid and sometimes instantaneous results with healings and stuff like that. We've seen instantaneous results with manifesting. I've been using this technology for about a year now, on a daily basis. And I knew about it for about 5 years, but at first I was a little bit to be honest with you, I was a little scared of it. And I kind of let it sit on the shelf for a while. And I started experimenting with it for myself, saw some magic, did it in a group environment. I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. This is like magic. And I've witnessed what people would consider miracles to a certain extent, manifesting things that would be, and doing it in front of people. So an example would be, we were out to dinner with some friends, and they've been watching what we were doing online. And I said, let's go ahead and have some fun. Name any car. And she says, red Corvette. And I say, okay, run the command sequence, do what I want. Within the next 30 minutes, boom, red Corvette shows up. 10 minutes after that, another red Corvette shows up. So it's like, and I've been doing this daily, like working with this technology, seeing what would be considered almost miraculous results with the technology that we're using, instantaneous healings, clearing diseases that would be considered, it would be considered impossible, but using this understanding of energy and technology to do feats like this, and remote viewing. And we're actually putting together a show where we do this live to show what is possible. Have people call into the show, have them name a certain thing that would look impossible, and go through the process of doing this. Not saying that it's going to happen 100% of the time. It's just not the way the universe works, but it does happen. So,
Well, that's fun.
yeah, it's really interesting. But what I'm getting at is what's possible when you enter the world of quantum physics, understanding energy, the fifth dimension, whatever you want to call it, spirituality. When you start to explore that, a lot of the impossible things become possible. And I think it's important for us as a species to understand what's inside of us, and to explore these things, and to use them to help other people, to use them to expand, evolve as a species. I think we're moving into a rapid evolution phase, and especially because the internet and understanding what's possible with energy technologies, I guess you could call it, or spiritual technologies.
And we have our own programs running, but then there's also those collective consciousness programs
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
are embedded in us. It's like, that is the hard drive, and then we have our own beliefs that is maybe like the software that we've downloaded.
Yep, absolutely. And I think that's where the source
to
truth.
think that you can manifest a car or something, that's obviously it's not going to be able to be reproduced with everyone, depending on how embedded those belief systems are in you.
Right. And with instantaneous healings, one thing that we do before the instantaneous healing is we actually check belief systems that would prevent the healing from happening, from manifesting. So it's not like we just go and do the healing and boom, all of a sudden it's there's some work to do before that. We need to make sure that there's no blocks that would prevent that to happen. But it's been scientifically proven that with this technology, you can remove something like a chronic disease, a health concern that would manifest a chronic disease, like we talked about earlier with the love situation and stuff like that. But it has been scientifically proven that these things are happening. The person that I learned this from, one of my mentors, has had thousands of I'm still working my way through to get those testimonies and those results and stuff like that, because I'm pretty new to this game. But they've had thousands of instantaneous healings.
That's wild.
Crazy stuff.
I love it. Well, this has been very informative, Christian. Thanks so much for sharing part of your program and taking us through a demo. That was really
thank you.
That was fun.
It's always a pleasure to work with you guys. You guys are awesome.
let our audience know where they can find you and how they can get involved with some of the stuff that you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's two ways right now. The first way for the entrepreneur program is quantumstart.me. That will take you to our subconscious deep dive, understanding the subconscious through and testing some of the blocks that we did today, and also getting in contact with how you can get our other programs. But that one's for entrepreneurs. Our other program is a group program that we do in a group environment, and it's both Amber and I. We're both doing this technology together. Amber's my wife, and I think she'll be on the show, your guys' show, a little bit later. And she's been on before. But we both work together, and we do subconscious reprogramming and quantum deep dives onto many topics. I'll pull some of them up for you right now. But you can go to trinityroomgift.com, and that will give you the ability to get some of the subconscious work for free, and then also become a member for our premium group that we do this work in. So just trinityroomgift.com. That's probably the best ways to reach us. Let me go ahead and pull up some of the topics that we've done inside the premium group. We did one on duality. We did subconscious reprogramming work and understanding duality. And I had a revelation that was presented to me right before we did it about World War III and the meaning behind World War III. And it was crazy. So we've done money and abundance, giving and receiving, safety and protection, confidence and personality, habits and addiction, goals, self-care, belief systems, the belief systems around belief systems, duality, trust, letting go. We did 2 archetype or identity programs, self-love, and family trauma.
Awesome.
Great. That's great. That's a lot of topics that I think a lot of people could sink their teeth into there.
Right. And if they decide to join us, they get access to all of these topics, which they can go through at their own pace.
Well, thanks so much, Christian, for being on the show. And please tell Amber we say hi.
Yeah, thank you guys.
And all the best success to you both in everything you're doing. We love it. I think it's groundbreaking, and it's going to be making a lot of shifts for people in easier ways.
Thank you so much. That means the world. Thank you for having me on, and it's an honor to work with you guys once again.
Yeah, and thanks to our audience for joining us. We will be back with you guys next week. Bye.
Thank you all for joining our show. We appreciate you tuning in and supporting us. If you have any questions you would like answered on the show, or any guests you would like to hear on our show, please email that information to us at info@enlightenup.us. And please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. And if you're interested in contacting Nicole or myself for some coaching or any of the other services we provide, you can find out more about Nicole at inflexibleme.com, and my website is lisaloveslove.com. Thank you again for joining us and supporting our show, and we will be back with you all next week.